tuning in on Facebook Live or YouTube.com. We really appreciate your engagement as we are streaming. Pretty exciting to have our city and school district business in one place together. With that being said, it's public forum time. I'll look to any of our attendees here today on the Zoom. I'll give it a moment to see if there's any virtual raised hands. If not, I'll go ahead and continue forward, folks. You can always comment later on throughout the agenda on particular items if that is what brought you here and piques your interest. I don't see any virtual raised hands for the public forum. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda, and I'll go ahead and move to approve the agenda. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Great. And our partners at the school district, let's do it all together, huh?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
All right, that's 4. The agenda is approved. Thank you very much. Moving on to the approval of minutes. They look fine to me. I'll move to approve the minutes from the meeting on March the 26th. Looking for a second.
Second.
We have a second from the president of the school board, Chris Norwood. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then that motion is carried. The minutes are approved. And on to discussion items. First up, we have the MUSD Innovation Campus map for future ready learners. And I'll go to my counterparts at the school district.
I think if the
I
super.
need to be able to share my screen.
Yeah, Renee, we'll do the innovation campus first and then this. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Okay, so I know the Economic Development Commission saw a version of this. So some of you may have heard pieces of it, but I've updated it and customized it for this meeting. So our MUSD Innovation Campus is going to be the home to our second high school campus. It also includes, as it does now, the site at 1331 East Calaveras Boulevard. It includes our alternative high school as well as our adult school. So our community passed a 2018 bond, and of that we have earmarked about 25% of that bond funding. So it's about around 68 million that will pay for those buildings that will be the second high school campus, as well as some of the others. And I'm going to get into that. So as we focus on our MUSD Innovation Campus, we're looking at what do we do to ensure that we are preparing our learners to be ready for the fourth industrial revolution, which is actually occurring right now. If you take a look at this image, it gives us a brief overview or outline of the prior industrial revolutions, beginning with the steam engine. Then we moved into electricity, where electricity also prompted industrialization in a factory type model. And some of you may be aware that our schools were actually based on the factory model and moving kids along from one age group to the next age group and preparing them to work in industry. And then in the 1900s, computing began, and that really increased our information system ability. It also began to change the way that kids were able to interact with information. We put in our schools computer labs. And then in the last 10 years, we moved away from computer labs because computers became smaller. They became movable, mobile laptops. So having a concept of everybody having to go to a computer lab in order to learn how to use technology became something of the past. And now we all have these little pocket-sized computers that we carry around with us. So we're really connected. And that's what the fourth industrial revolution is about, is connection. So think about, especially in this last year, how have these pieces of your life changed? Work, shopping, how you communicate with people, how you track data about your own well-being. There are several different ways that I can think of that have impacted me. For example, when I get into my car, if I need to know how to get to a place, I'll input it into my smartphone, which is attached to the Android system in my car. It'll give me traffic updates. It tells me approximately the amount of time it'll take to take different routes. Not only that, but now when people call me, it will show me who's calling on the display in my car. Working, well, we're all experiencing the difference now, especially since we all had to move into shelter in place. Tracking data, I track my steps every day. I know some people also track their sleep, they track their nutrients, they track their heart rates. Even doctors, medical can track a patient through a digital device. So the fourth industrial revolution is occurring now. And as we think about our learners, we want them to be prepared so that they are the creators and producers and not simply consumers or recipients of something that is done to them, but they actually get to create what's happening. Let's take a look a little bit at some data.
Superintendent Jordan, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
May I ask a
Sure.
question of the mayor and Carmen or Ms. Montano or Councilmember Montano? What have you guys
Vice Mayor,
seen
yeah.
as far? Say that again.
You mean Vice Mayor Montano?
Vice Mayor. Yeah, Vice Mayor, Vice President, Board Clerk. I got a whole bunch of names running through my head.
Gotta get it right. You gotta get it right.
Got to get it right. Vice Mayor Montano. What have you guys seen when it comes to the superintendent that's talked about the fourth industrial revolution and all the change and how it's been accelerated? What have you guys experienced in your own lives? I was thinking about Rich, as far as you being in the military, and Carmen, all the work that you've done with kids. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be the first to share. I hope it's a timely moment here. I don't want to.
It is timely.
Okay, I just want to make sure I know the superintendent is in the middle.
No, I actually meant for this slide to be interactive, but
okay.
then I thought, well, maybe I'll just present and keep going.
No, thank you. No, I'll go to the suggestion there. So, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm listening to the superintendent, and every little thing, getting into our vehicles, counting the steps that we take every day. I mean, it really. Some people have the iWatch, and it'll tell you when to breathe. Right? It'll tell you when to stand up. But absolutely, in talking about the Industrial Revolution that we're going through right now, I mean, I think that's really what everybody should be aware of as we move forward in this point in history. You take a look at McCarthy Ranch. That's always been in an industrial zone, but at some point, many decades ago, it was industrial for agriculture. And if you fast forward now at McCarthy Ranch, we have these brand new industrial buildings for Apple and Amazon, and that's spurred by the connectivity that I'm looking at on this slide. You see the figure in the slide standing up, holding the phone, and they could be purchasing something on Amazon that can really be distributed through Milpitas. So there's different ways to really experience the industrial revolution and evolution that we're going through. So no, absolutely. I'm really getting pulled into this presentation by the superintendent because it's really spot on. But let me go to the vice mayor if the vice mayor wanted to share some comments as well.
Yeah, sure. I'll share a few of my perceptions. As a retired school teacher, well, I still sub. I saw the beginning as a teacher when the transformation of education going more with digital, and because we transition where we were transitioning. I was in the beginning stages when the schools were changing their whole model of teaching. It was more due to the information age, digital computers, lab. The lab. You're right, Cheryl, about no more computer labs. This was all mobile. Students carrying their Chromebooks. It was more and more mobility, more access to information. And so I saw the beginning stages of that, and teachers being trained and so forth. Then COVID hit. And then that's another different wave. This was more virtual learning from home. So again, it was more mobile, but it was a distance learning, if you will. And we're going through different phases of this information age, or industrial information age revolution. And it's a game changer. But the problem is, though, I will tell you, is that students, especially students of color, mostly Latinos and African Americans, they're being left behind. And that's where we can really make a difference in being innovative, thinking out of the box, coming out with creative ideas of how can we narrow that digital divide, because that determines whether you're going to, it's survival of the fittest. That determines if you're going to make it in this society or not. And as you know, those that do not have the educational skills and background, they wind up, for the most part, as statistics have shown, doing antisocial acts because they don't have the self-esteem to do well in school. They don't do well in school. And so that's what we really, really need to work on. So yeah, I've seen a transition too. You're so right. You're so right on, Cheryl. It's a new age, and we need to make sure that all our students get the opportunity to make it in this society.
You're exactly right. And when you spoke about our Latinx and students of African ancestry, as well as students in low socioeconomic stratus, they are the students who in the past have been left behind when it comes to being the drivers and creators of what happens in our economy. And that's exactly why we want to make sure that our learners have pathways so they're the leaders and not simply the consumers. And as we look at this data, which is data in the blue square, that's data from Silicon Valley over this last year. So you could see how the pandemic has impacted people based on the sectors that they are working in. For those who work in the tech sector, which a great deal of Milpitas manufacturing and business is, you see that they actually had an increase of employment by 2%. While those who work in the service sectors, like the food industry and entertainment, they saw a decrease or a loss of 49% of their jobs. And unemployment in April was close to 12%. So in order for us to ensure that our learners are not victims of another disaster or downturn like we're experiencing, to make sure that they have those tools so they can be in those resilient types of industries, we need to make sure that we're designing learning experiences and learning places in a way that allows them to gain those skills. And then speaking to our people who are underrepresented, if you look in the middle tab, you see that if we just look at based at gender, that even though about 38% of women in the universities have been going for STEM degrees, only about 26% of them go into tech jobs. And part of that does have to do with gender bias as far as their experience goes in the university. And then following up with their experience that they have when they try to get into the door of manufacturing and the in the level of the design and engineering, and not so much just the design of actually putting the pieces together. And then if we look at the manufacturing jobs, it's just shy of 8% of the advanced manufacturing jobs, particularly looking at designing and managing, that has women. And then of that less than 8%, only 1.5% are women of color, Latinx or African ancestry. So the data speaks to what you're speaking of, Vice Mayor, and the opportunity is there in the right three columns. If you look at a report from World Economic Forum, as well as the McKinsey report from just a few years ago, you see that in just a few short years, we're almost at 2030. It'll be here before we know it. 75 to 375 million people across the globe will be displaced as a result of the Industrial Revolution. And COVID has merely sped that up. And conversely, if we look, we see that about 50 million new tech jobs are going to be developed. And we have about 378,000 new manufacturing jobs in the United States. And a great deal of those are here in Silicon Valley. And they've gone somewhat unfilled because we have a lack of skill in our workforce. And then also healthcare. And we talked about how the Internet of Things allows healthcare to also become impacted by how we work and live and how we see our medical professors. And even in that situation, there is a shortage. I know when I went to get my vaccine, there were nurses there who were here only from other states, but they don't live here. But because of the shortage, they were brought in to do the vaccines. So there's definitely great opportunity. So as we look at the investment of our MUSD Innovation Campus and the investment of our residents, our voters who voted for our bond, we want to make sure that we're giving their children an experience that allows them to lead in Silicon Valley, and isn't just simply another school box, but is something that is going to prepare them for the future. And as we also think about campuses, the traditional school day ends generally around 3, and then you have another few hours for after school activities. And then those resources are closed up. Those resources could be used for adult learners. And so that's what we're looking at with our MUSD Innovation Campus. And that's why we're looking for corporate sponsors, corporate partners, municipalities, institutes of higher education to partner with us to really make this an innovation site where together we're helping to ensure that our learners have those experiences that they need. And so if you look here at this diagram, you see that we have 6 buildings. They're L-shaped. These L-shaped buildings are called folia. A folia building is somewhere in between a modular building and what's called traditional stick build. The foundation of a folia building is exactly like the foundation of any traditional build, as far as how it's created and also its life expectancy. The building part is similar to the idea or concept of a modular building, where parts of it are built and assembled off-site, so it goes up much more quickly than a regular stick build. So it's in between and has the benefits of some customization, and also life expectancy is very similar to a traditional building built out. So as we look, these 2 L buildings along 1331 East Calaveras Boulevard, that's the second high school campus. Then these other 2 L buildings on the closer to the interior will be shared spaces between the alternative high school, Cal Hills, and some for the second high school campus. And then the 2 L buildings that are over closer to the parking lot and the sports center, Those will be our adult school and also our district offices. So our bond money covers the 4 buildings completely, including the second high school campus. But rather than just simply remodeling the old buildings, so we'd have a mix of old buildings and new buildings, and therefore our adult learners in our Milpitas Adult Ed program might thus feel second class. The board chose instead to go with the Folia building, knowing that staff would work really hard to build partnerships so that we could get the funding through grants and also through straight donations. As we look at the old theater and what we call Building 900, currently the only things that happen in there is our preschool assessment center. We have a lease with the Milpitas Montessori, and then a small part of the theater is used for grab and go lunch for Cal Hills. So this part we found out through the DSA, looking back at DSA requirements for when you have new school structures, that there is probably extensive earthquake retrofit, and the cost differential between renovating these buildings and scraping and rebuilding is about $2 million. So to renovate is approximately 9 million, but to scrape and rebuild is about 11 million. So this is one of the key pieces that we don't necessarily want to use bond funds for, when we know that the concept that I'm outlining for you is something that corporations, institutes of higher ed, and our own city of Milpitas are really excited about supporting and being a part of. And that's where our Milpitas Alliance Partners comes into play, which I'll get to in a moment. This rendering shows you an example of what we see at this site. So remember, I shared with you that if we were to just consider the building traditional school building where the school closes up after everybody's gone and then sits wasted and unutilized, if we instead, as we are, think about it as something that's open from 7 to 9 p.m., 6 or 7 days a week, then those adult learners and even students who might be interested in doing dual enrollment, they have access to this. And our partners have access to it. And what we want the theater and the Building 900 to become is a workforce pathways development center and an early childhood education research and development center. And going back to COVID and the way that people are being displaced, there's another quiet impact that's occurring that some data people are paying attention to, but it's not something that the media necessarily is. And that is the gender gap. Who is mostly staying at home or dividing their time between work, if they're able to work at home virtually, and making sure the kids are online? It's predominantly women. So that means women are taking a step back in their careers. So as we look at the Early Childhood Education Center, it's an opportunity for us to research what's happening with students who have missed, who have spent a great deal of time on a computer rather than interacting with kids their own age at age 5, 6, and 7. And it's also a way for us to have childcare for those women who want to get back into the workforce and need to retool. Any thoughts or questions before I go on?
Oh, none. Please carry on.
Okay.
I did have one question,
Sure,
Cheryl.
go ahead.
So I do like the concept of the building will always be used. However, I'm just thinking, well, who's going to pay the person that the teacher? You know, somebody has to pay the teacher to teach the
You're
Yes.
exactly right.
So that's what came into my mind. It's, I mean, and that's
Mhm.
great, but I'm just wondering where that money will come from.
So you're talking about the programming money, and programming money can
Operational.
come in different ways. So as we're looking at the adults who are using it, as I mentioned to you before, we've been talking to San Jose City College as well as San Jose State. So in working with those partners, just as they do now at the extension, they would be able to support funding for teachers in the evenings.
Okay, and then this is great, and will it'll be anybody, or is it just targeting Latinx and African American students, since they're the ones that need more of that, closing the achievement gap? I'm just wondering how that will happen.
Mhm. So you're getting into
Yeah.
a lot of the details around programming. And also, if we think about our second high school campus, as we've said throughout the bond campaign, while the building itself could at any one point in time house about 500 students, we needed to serve 800 to 1,000. And if you look at the population of our Latinx students and our African ancestry students, it's about 3% for African ancestry and about it's down to about 22% for Latinx. So that's not enough students to fill both of those, to fill the second high school campus if we were to only open to them. So yes, while we would target our underrepresented students, it would be open to all students.
Okay.
So here on, go ahead.
No, I said thank you.
You're welcome. So here on this slide, another piece that we need to think about as far as learning is the idea of only being able to go on a career path that takes you through a community college and then perhaps transferring to an institute of higher ed, like a four-year college, or going directly into four-year college. We recognize that there are people who are getting badges and certifications and perhaps doing 2 years of community college and then going directly into a career through the certification process that is paying in the high 80s to 90s. We know that Google has created an 18-month program, which is open to anybody, that would then provide them with a $80,000 to $90,000 job. We know that our students in colleges, that some of them are wondering, do I really want to go back to a traditional classroom? Because I really like learning online. And so there are virtual academies that are opening up for them. So as we look at it, we are definitely looking at different pathways of learning to get to career. And also in career, coming back to learning. This slide here just gives you an idea of what the inside of the classrooms and labs could look like. We want to keep in mind that we need to be flexible because things do change much more quickly in 3 to 7 years. What might be needed for working out Flex or Tesla or KLA could be very different. So we need to make sure that the learning spaces can adapt. And while here in this larger picture, we see a typical type of quad area, we've talked with our architects about ensuring that every space has learning opportunity. So we're even designing outside learning spaces. And then getting to, you asked about, well, what is it that we're going to be teaching? We've been talking with several different corporations as well as those institutes of higher ed, as I shared with you. And I've talked with middle school students and show them this slide and ask what's missing. Is there something here that you want to do that you don't see? And with the exception of performing arts, it pretty much covers everything else. And our Milpitas Alliance partners will definitely be there to help us in determining what the industries are that we need to ensure that our learners have access to. I want to remind us, those of us who are aware, and then for those of you who don't know, that in 2019, we had a committee of about 20 plus teachers, a couple students, board members, and parents. And we talked about what is it that we want our learners graduating from the second high school campus to know and be able to do. And these are the 4 concepts that we all determined needed to be at play. And we tested these out with a couple different parent groups, Milpitas High School. One was the school site council, the other was PTA, and they were open to all. And so this is the direction of the goals that we want them to have. And then I'm just going to go through these slides quickly because I want to make sure we have time for our other agenda items. And one of them in particular ties into this. And one is that one of our goals in this project is, while we only have about 12, 13% of our current Milpitas residents actually working in Milpitas, we want to double that. We want it to be around 24 to 25% because we know we have the talent here in Milpitas. We know we have the opportunities because, well, just look at our Chamber of Commerce. Look at all the people there who represent the types of small businesses that we have. Then if you look at our Economic Development Commission, you see the larger corporations that are represented there. So Milpitas is really at the heart, at the opposite end of the gateway to Silicon Valley. This map shows us that if you look at Silicon Valley being around San Mateo area, closer to San Francisco, and then coming up to the west side to Palo Alto, look straight across 237 east, there's this gem called Milpitas. Milpitas is the gateway to Silicon Valley. And Silicon Valley isn't just here in Santa Clara County and San Mateo County. Silicon Valley is becoming global. Why? Because some companies are finding that it's cheaper to work and operate in other countries. And also because we all know how to Zoom. So we're really talking about something immense here, a true opportunity. And as city and school partners, we can drive this together. And I think I'm going to finish with that.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Jordan. Let me go straight to public comment here. If anybody here on the Zoom would like to make a public comment, I want to afford the opportunity. Okay, I don't see any public comment. Thank you very much. I'll bring it back up here to the virtual dais. No, thank you for the presentation. I mean, this is everything. This is our future, the advancement of our community. And I think for the MAP, that is very critical. And if the school district would like to partner with the city, I think that the MAP should, we could have a meeting about the MAP in its own. I do believe that there's going to be a lot of tech industry growth here in Milpitas. Our city staff has done just excellent job with our recent update of the general plan. We've increased the density for a lot of I would say a lot of the industrial areas around town. And so we're really welcoming in a high-tech Class A industrial development. With that, it's going to bring, I would say, thousands of tech jobs one day soon, hopefully. And so this really the MAP can really include not just our government institutions here of us and we, but also who we have in town right now. When I'm hearing about Google and other companies, they should absolutely have a seat at the table, especially if they are doing business here in town. I know we can easily say Cisco, Flex, all our usual partners, and other partners as well that really should have a seat at the table. I know some people have recommended to me having a mayor's roundtable. I think our economic development director, and so maybe this is where they could play the most instrumental part in the creating opportunities for our youth and our students. So I really want to just take from this discussion item further. If I'm more than happy and willing to have just a number of meetings with yourself, superintendent, as well as the school board president and whomever, to really put a table there, this alliance, and really have these folks at the table. So if that's something that the school district is interested in, I think that's a big kind of outcome we can have from this meeting here, because I don't think this innovation campus will be optimal without the partners, private partners in the community, as you've stated. So I'm super excited about it. I know there's a lot of different parts to it. I speak with the school board president, Chris Norwood, about it, kind of around the community and chances that we get to have a chat. And so I'm willing to, give more effort being at the table if you're setting the table here. And heck, it'll be like a potluck. We'll all bring something, and let's make sure that we get our corporate partners. And I think they are willing. You have companies like FireEye, who is really one of the leading companies in the world. They were featured on 60 Minutes not too long ago. And I think that that could be one of the next few steps we can take. So the excitement is there. I'm going to stop my remarks there, but I'll connect with everybody as we move forward past today's meeting. And I hope that's something that we can do.
Assistant City Manager, is this the time you wanted to introduce the MOU?
Yeah, so Mayor Tran, we have been working with Superintendent Jordan and had a few conceptual ideas to share with the committee under this item, if you'd like to hear that. So
yes, please.
Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and get started. Ashwini Kantak, Assistant City Manager, and we are really excited to discuss with you a potential partnership between the city and MUSD that will help our residents enhance their skills and compete for the high quality job opportunities that Superintendent Jordan talked about. And again, we've been working with her on this and believe this partnership will be beneficial to our community. So we're proposing that the city join this Alliance Partners program as a founding partner, but using a slightly different model than the other founding partners. So instead of a cash contribution, we're proposing a partnership with in-kind resources as well as tie-ins to other workforce development programs. We all have the same goals as the Alliance Partners program. Workforce development is an integral part of our recently adopted economic development strategy. And the resources we're investing into this area are significantly more than actually the required cash contribution from the other founding partners. And so we have Alex Andrade, our Economic Development Director, and Renee Lorenzen, our Director of Recreation and Community Services. They'll just walk you through a very brief presentation, and we'd like to get your feedback on kind of the concepts that we're proposing. So Alex, if you want to.
Sounds good. Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, my name is Alex Andrade. I'm the Director of Economic Development, and it's my absolute pleasure to be here to talk about workforce development and education from both a personal and professional perspective. So I'm just going to start with a brief background and then get into the proposed MOU between the city and MUSD. So this is an important conversation, as I was saying, because the City Council has determined that one of the 7 council priorities is economic development and job growth. So this is obviously an important component to that. I'll start here with the economic development strategy. The economic development strategy was approved and adopted by our City Council last year, May 5th, 2020 to be exact. It was the first economic development strategy to be approved in 15 years. There are 7 important themes that are important to the economic development strategy. It includes over 60 implementation actions. And just going back to the 7 major themes, one of them is workforce development and education resources. The pandemic has caused Milpitas' unemployment rate to go from a sub 3% to almost 13% in April 2020. The pandemic has definitely exacerbated the need for workforce development and skills improvement in order to compete for the high quality jobs that we need and desire. and with jobs within the emerging technologies. Before I get off of the economic development strategy, I am glad to see that MUSD has used quite a bit of data in their presentation that comes from our economic development strategy. That economic development strategy costs the city quite a bit. It's a 5-year program. We're just about a year into it, and we've made a pretty significant dent in some of those implementation actions. And again, workforce development education is really important here. In terms of Milpitas Unified School District, the superintendent has just given you an overview of MAP for ready learners. Just to dive a little bit deeper there, it's a 10-year initiative to increase employment opportunities for Milpitas residents. As Superintendent Jordan just indicated, we learned through our economic development strategy that we could have anywhere between like 51,000 to 52,000 people that work in Milpitas. However, of those 51 to 53,000 people, only about 12% of our residents are actually working in Milpitas. That means that the majority of our workforce is coming into Milpitas, and the majority of our residents are leaving Milpitas to go to jobs outside of the city. They're taking funding with them that they go and spend elsewhere. That could be called retail leakage if it results in buying retail elsewhere. But we hear from residents that they want to be close to their families. They want to be close to cultural centers in Milpitas. So we need to increase the percentage of jobs for our residents. And the MAP program will definitely provide MUSD learners, parents, and residents with the global skills in driving the future of work. Next slide, please. This is where we're going to get into the tentative MOU proposal. You heard Assistant City Manager Shwini Kantak give you kind of an overview there. And so we're pleased to present an MOU proposal, as she just indicated, with in-kind services that would be provided by the Office of Economic Development, the Recreation and Community Services, and department, as well as other partners that we work with frequently, which is Nova Works, our Workforce Investment Board, Evergreen Valley College, NextFlex, and the Economic Development and Trade Commission. The proposal includes going well beyond the MOU ask of $25,000 in city staff time and funding provided to our partners and programs which directly support MAP's vision. The proposed MOU from MUSD is asking for a 5-year term, where we are saying that we would have a 2-year engagement with MUSD, and then we would review and renew the MOU thereafter. And as I mentioned, there's really 2 main city departments that are associated with this partnership. It would be the Office of Economic Development and Renee's group here, which is the Recreation and Community Services Department. Next slide, please. So I wanted to just briefly some of the important aspects of this. The city's Office of Economic Development is currently just kicking off a workforce recovery program with Nova Works. You probably know them well as our Workforce Investment Board, rather. This workforce recovery program is needed now more than ever because people are in a pandemic. You heard Superintendent Jordan talk about the 4th Industrial Revolution, and it is about connecting, but it's also making sure that our residents have the skills for those emergent technologies that are being invented today and tomorrow. So phase 1 of this workforce recovery program at Nova Works is going to be about looking at an assessment of what our employer workforce needs are, and then assessment of our resident skills in order to determine what those gaps are. Phase 2 will include the result of those assessments will mean a training program that will be developed under phase 2. Phase 1 and phase 2, it's $20,000 per phase. So the city's investing $40,000 in that. And then we have several years of partnership during Flex Factor with MUSD, Milpitas High School, and Evergreen Valley College. This is a program, it's a really fun program where we'll meet just Milpitas High School students from the E-Tech program, identify real world problems, they ideate solutions, and then they come up with these really contemporary advanced hardware products where they actually end up in a pitch, very much like the Shark Tank, And this past year, I was one of the judges on this shark style event. And one of the benefits of that is that the students that are participating in that program are actually dual enrolled at Evergreen Valley College. So they receive half a credit if they complete the Flex Factor program. We have been putting staff time in that for several years, but most recently we put in $5,000. And then we expect the collaborations to continue through Manufacturing Day. This October will be our 5th annual Manufacturing Day. They get bigger and better every year. We'll participate with MUSD in a career fair. We'll explore grant opportunities. And as the mayor was indicating, that I think is really important is tapping into our corporate community. And so the Office of Economic Development will be helping with connecting to the corporate community. So for now, I'm going to hand it briefly over to Renee Lorenzen to provide you an overview as it relates to the very exciting Milpitas Youth Force program. So Renee?
Okay, thank you, Alex. So Recreation and Community Services Department, we launched a new program under the vision of the Community City Council in 2019. It's the Milpitas Youth Force program. In 2019, we were in a very different environment. We launched a program that served 17 Milpitas Unified School District high schoolers. They were individually placed in about 10 businesses and public departments around the city, where they gained individual experiences and mentorships from several different types of businesses. 2020 painted a very different picture. And so we went back into our tool chest and came up with a virtual environment for Milpitas Youth Force, which actually concluded just a couple of weeks ago, where we took groups of students, we had 14 this year, and we put them into problem-solving groups where we focused on positive group and team roles and experiences, training, and being contributors to the businesses in Milpitas that are having real world business problems or ideas and innovations that they needed the youth perspective on. It was a very well-received program. We did have businesses from hospitality, technology, distribution and sales, as well as public service, where these 14 students got to work one-on-one as a group with these mentors weekly and understand a business, how it works, and did research and really understood what it meant to get a problem and solve it, or discuss a business or an entity and come up with some creative ideas for getting back out into the world post-pandemic. Like I mentioned, we just finished a couple weeks ago, and one of the couple of the greatest things we heard in the feedback from the students was that they really got to know students at the high school that they never would have hung out with before, and created these great relationships and collaborations. They were very excited about that, and they felt inspired by their business mentor, and then it was completely reciprocated by the business representative, many in high ranks, who felt very inspired by the youth themselves. And so there's a lot of continuing relationships between both the business and the students. So the Youth Force program has been well received in both formats, but we were really happy with this last year in the virtual format. This program, the total cost for this program, as we ran it in 2021 was about $19,000 to $20,000. And so we are looking to continue this 8 to 10 week program on an annual basis.
Thanks, Renee. One more slide. And so if the subcommittee agrees with the draft MOU language, we would then proceed, or those entities, the city, of course, would proceed to the city council, and the MUSD folks would proceed to their respective board for consideration of this MOU. And so staff is here to answer any questions you may have, both from the city and from MUSD. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate it. Thank you. And Renee, thank you so much, Renee. I think for today, I'm really thankful for what our city staff has put together, and I am in agreement with it. But I do think there's more we can do going forward, and I'm still encouraged to explore further opportunities. You know, what the city's brought forward today, I'm all for it 100%. But I do want to say that I want to commit to working harder myself to exploring more opportunities for support for this innovation campus and the MAP. I want to check in with the superintendent here. Kind of turn a different page, if I may, Cheryl. If a private corporation or even the city, whoever, wanted to engage and commit $25,000 cash, where would this money go towards, the superintendent?
It would go towards the building as well as equipment inside buildings and also program.
Okay, great. So I do want to.
Superintendent, could you add the fact that there is the way that the funding campaign is going, is that there's also brand opportunities for those that are winning?
Yes. What President Norwood is referring to is that corporations or individuals or entities, they can, there are different sponsoring opportunities as well as naming opportunities. For example, somebody could name a building or name a classroom or lab, such as our STEAM lab. And we have one corporation that may that we're working with to name one of the labs. There's also the opportunity to name programs within the MUSD Innovation Campus. So as Vice Mayor asked about specific programs for Latinx and African ancestry, we could have a donor who wants to donate specifically to some program associated with lifting pathways up for people. So we actually have a whole menu of different types of things. And
Sure, I didn't know you had a pet.
4:55, so I don't know about pulling it up right now, but it is something we could talk about later. But I have a portfolio brochure. I have sponsorship menus. So there is a lot going into it. Right now, my main focus is the building.
Great, thank you for that. I know that could be a whole topic for a meeting in itself. So
capital campaign.
Yeah, you know, I want to see this become 100% successful. I say that with all my heart, and I would like to get more involved. So I will call the school board president maybe after this meeting to set something up real soon so that we can find a way. I want to commit more, and I just think there's so much opportunity. I mean, you showed the map and just the wealth of industry we have here at home, and we have incredible, successful people that have come out of Milpitas and that love Milpitas, and I just think that I'm excited. I'm excited to asked to join the effort here. So, but I just want to put that out there. But back to our city staff's recommendation, I'm in full support of the MOU as it is presented today, and let's move it forward to our respective bodies of governing, and let's move on to the next discussion item if we can. Do we need a motion or anything here? We might, huh?
No, I think we're just looking for direction. And
okay, yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and if we may all together direct this MOU to present it today to go to our respective governing bodies for the next step towards approval. And you know, I really look forward to going after the opportunities that are out there for folks to donate and the whole philanthropic effort. That's always a fun one, huh? Yeah. Okay, great.
Superintendent, let's do the same. Let's look at bringing this to our governing body as well in concert.
So we could bring it to our May 11th board meeting. I'll work with Assistant City Manager, just to see when you would be bringing it to the City Council, and we can kind of coincide.
Okay, thank you.
Great, great. Thank you so much, everybody. I do want to keep this meeting going. Vice Mayor, I noticed it. Did you want to? Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a short request. So with you mentioned some of those ideas that will be at the Innovation Center, but I want to make a recommendation that you really stress, if we're really going to close the achievement gap with the information age, we need to focus on mathematics. It is so important. Matt, as you know, mathematics is that discrete mathematics. They need to know probability. They need to know linear equations. They need to know algorithms, so much more. And and that's where most of our Latino and African-American students are failing. And I really would like to recommend that the curriculum includes some type of blended learning where they have hands-on building things, but with mathematics. And if they're going to go into computer science, they need to have the math. That's where I would really, and I think if you stress that, you'll get folks investing, you'll get the commitments, but they got to see that math in there somewhere. Otherwise, it's going to be another same old. So I'm just making that recommendation, throwing that out there. Thanks.
We hear your voice. We hear your voice. Yep, you got it. All right, next up here, if we made discussion item number 2, Milpitas Adult Ed course offerings to the City of Milpitas employees. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Juliana Ibrahim, Principal of Milpitas Adult Ed. I'm really happy and excited to be here to share with you. And I want to second what my Vice Mayor Carmen Montano has said, that math is very, very critical and crucial to closing that gap. Milpitas Adult Ed has been called many times in times of crisis like the ones that we have today. And in 1982, actually, we were called to respond to the needs of the displaced workers of the Ford plant. When the Ford plant was closing, we had to go in and train the students in their math. We had to go train them in their working skills. We had to go train them in community service and communication skills. So our goal right now is, as we continue to build partnership and also find out what do our community members need? What does the City of Milpitas need? It's very important that we do that inventory, because what happens many times is we start designing, we start putting curriculum together, we start doing everything, and we do not know what does the employer need. So briefly, last year we engaged in conversations with the City of Milpitas, and we put together a plan that was very related and tied with digital skills. The plan included, let me see, the proposal included carefully looking at the market and industry trends, and also looking at what did the employees of the City of Milpitas needed. We put together two different options. I don't know if I have the opportunity to share the screen. I do. So we put together 2 different programs. One was, they were both meant to be for some of the needs that came up from the city, and one was beginning office skills. It was 24 weeks, introduction to Google Suite, also for the workplace, also 16 weeks, and office specialist for 24 weeks. We also had the opportunity to bring another program that would work with MS Word, Excel, Workplace, and believe it or not, keyboarding has become a very, very important part of the workplace. We have many students that are coming to our schools just to take the typing test because that typing test is what's going to get them their next job. We were hoping to do this remotely, but as we are in now safer conditions, we're also opening very soon a career training center that's going to be open for all our community. And I know that you do see a cost on the left, but that doesn't mean that that cost will remain for our partners. We were just trying to balance what would it take to lead the student through the 8 weeks of work and get a recognized certificate of completion. And as you can see, there is the business writing and communication and more on Excel and Word, self-paced, and also having some office hours for the students that are interested. And the one that during the pandemic has become very popular is closing again the achievement gap on the digital literacy in the use of Google Suites. So we do have these programs ready to begin at any time. But I also would like to point out that we are ready to design any type of curriculum that will lead for the employees of the city of Milpitas to move forward. We have several different career pathways, and one of them includes the para-educator pathway that Vice Mayor Montano was also sharing, and the one that Superintendent Jordan was mentioning, because many women have stopped going to the workplace just because they had to stay home. So our para-educator pathway is very interesting, it's very doable, and it does also include communication, math, and reading and writing skills. So if the city ever needed an area where to train paraeducators or ECE, we're ready to do that too. Alongside, we have the opportunity, as Mayor and Superintendent were saying, we need to be able to tap on our own talent and keep them here in the city of Milpitas. That's why engaging the opportunity youth between 18 and 24 years old, closing that gap, finding out what is the reentry population needing, and reentry also means the moms and the dads that need to go out to work again. What is it that they need to upscale and get her on their way to their next step? So we are ready to design several different things and pathways depending on the need of the employer. And the employer and the connection with training and education is extremely important at this time, more than ever.
Are you going to say any questions, or you're just going to kind of like stop, or what we got?
I also wanted to mention that we all love the city of Milpitas, and we know our diverse population, our diverse community comes with different talents, different languages, and we are very, very committed to working with every population that comes and needs a step toward to come and feel safe to learn and move forward. So yes, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions. I know the Vice Mayor, you got your virtual raised hand up.
Oh, let me put it down, but I did want to ask a question. Thank you, Juliana, for the wonderful presentation, and you are right. So those keyboarding skills are so needed, so much. They're so important that it's wonderful that you provide those services. I do like your saying your strategy of doing an inventory of what the businesses need. I think that's should be part of the strategy finding out how to run the program at the Education Innovation Center. I think it's called Innovation Center. Anyway, so I really do appreciate your thoughts. That makes me realize that more and more these we need to start preparing our kids. And I'm wondering, maybe with Cheryl, is there a way to I'm kind of sidetracking, because I know you need to catch them when they're young, because when they're already in high school, it's kind of too late. Is there a way where we can where the school district can assess which kids are not doing well in math, and if not, they're not doing well, do you tutor them? Do you do extra, some kind of program that helps them get those math skills? Because that's the future. That they need those math skills.
Yes, in grades 1 through 8, we have iReady, which is an assessment. We also have teachers assessment. And at the high school level, we have the assessments that their teachers give in their classes. Those and also other indicators. And yes, we offer tutoring, and with the expanded learning opportunities, we're looking to hire a math interventionist, which is like a teacher on special assignment.
Okay, thank you. I just sorry for taking you off track, but Juliana, thank you for your presentation. Wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Vice
And
Mayor.
I also wanted to add, I'm sorry, I forgot that important thought, that we are a testing center. So any student that is getting ready to complete their high school diploma or equivalency, we can do that here at the Ayers site. Dual enrollment is also coming up for all the adult learners that are hoping to get their GED or their HiSET or their equivalency and go for free to the community colleges for 13 credits. So that is also coming up. A lot of very important and innovating things happening between the adult schools and the community colleges in order to move the student and accelerate their progress for their next step, either post-secondary education and or the workforce. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for the questions. I do have a comment. I want to say how much I appreciate you, Juliana, in terms of your institutional knowledge. And I was listening to you, and you mentioned when the Ford factory closed and how that was really a moment of need for adult education. And so that means a whole lot to Milpitas. And as someone had spoken earlier about how much the school district means, and it means everything. Even in my role, in my position, I'm strengthened and I'm aware and I'm educated by our school district, whether I am or you are alumni or your children are enrolled or
grandkids.
Or grandkid. Oh, okay.
I had to throw that in there. Okay, sorry.
Or if your children or your grandchildren are enrolled, it's the same thing. It's understanding our community and our people that we represent. I would be less than half of what I am today if I didn't have the experiences of my classmates, my former classmates, and every grade level, and understanding their walk of life, their background, their diversity, their wealth of culture, and even the street they live on and the experiences they face on and off campus. And so we really are representing and working for in public service the same people. And Juliana, you know that very well, and you are really a testament to that here in our community. So thank you so much. Okay, great. I'm gonna go to public comment real quick for the record. Anybody got public comment? Going once, going twice. All right, did my part. No public comment. We're gonna move on to the MUSD bond projects update.
I know Wendy is standing by, but I'm not sure if she is there. So I will just quickly give an update on our, oh, there she is.
Well, I'm here. But yeah, well, I provided a detailed update at the last meeting. There are really not much new things going on. Just for this coming board meeting on the 27th, we have the track for Rancho project is moving forward for board approval. And for the Russell side, we just received the bid yesterday, and we're going to wait for the softball league finish their season, then we will start construction at the Russell, as we promised the before softball league. And other than that, and Cheryl shared about the airside planning, and so we're moving along with that program planning with our architect firm QKA. So we're planning to bring that contract forward probably in the May board meeting. So that's about it from my end.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm happy to hear about those projects that you mentioned. I know that we're gonna continue to produce a high level of excellence of student athletes, and so yeah, that's great. I mean, a lot of great's gonna come from that. So Juliana, you have your virtual raised hand up. I'm gonna have to ask you to lower your virtual raised hand.
Yes, apologize.
Yeah.
Always.
I try to be that's my job. That's my job, and I got. Thank you. Okay, great. Are there any further announcements for the bond projects update? If not,
take a drive by Randall.
No, I run by Randall with my pet. We run that way. We know a few folks in that neighborhood, so we run that way, and it's looking amazing. And I did attend Randall in 4th and 5th grade, and my family first moved here. I know exactly how much that new facilities will mean to that community. Absolutely, I love it. I love it. Yeah, so a lot of folks in the community are interested in the projects, and if y'all can share it on social media, Facebook, I would love to continue to share it. I mean, every time I share one of these new projects, I mean, the whole community lights up. Every single neighborhood, they're just in love with the work that the school district is doing, and it is truly a pivotal time in our community with projects like these. Okay, that go for public comment. Any public comment for the bond projects? Okay, I don't see any. Okay, great. I want to keep it moving here, if we may. Next up on the discussion items is the City of Milpitas Vaccine Clinic, outreach to Milpitas families and residents ages 16 and up.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. So I'm just going to give a real brief update. And maybe first time hearing that the City of Milpitas Recreation Community Services is supporting the first Santa Clara County vaccine clinic in Milpitas. It is next Wednesday, April 28th at the Milpitas Sports Center, 10 to 4 p.m. It is a walk-up clinic. However, those needing help getting an appointment can contact our social services coordinator to make an appointment. It is a Pfizer shot, so they will get their first shot on the 28th, and then the second shot, I believe, is May 19th. Just to share collaboration in the spirit of the subcommittee, we've been marketing this in a number of different ways, including but not limited to the city's social media and web, news announcements, cultural radio spots. We've emailed all of our city service clubs, all of our city HOAs. We have flyers out to our mobile shower program. All registered nonprofits in the city have received information. We did receive areas in Milpitas where we have neighborhoods of low vaccine maps. We have volunteers canvassing those neighborhoods with flyers in 4 different languages. Our social services coordinator is working with her clients to get them appointments. We are handing out information at our senior nutrition program, which includes Terrace Gardens. Thank you to Milpitas Unified School District. We immediately reached out because it is a 16+ vaccination. We are handing out flyers on Monday through the student lunch program, specifically at Randall, Rose, and Burnett. And the Milpitas Unified School District shared this information on their social media, parent emails through Parent Square, and through Mr. Meneja at Milpitas High School. So we have 500 doses to give out on Wednesday. We hope every single dose is taken up by as many Milpitas residents as possible. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. And I can always route you all 4 flyers if you'd like them to help spread the word. That's it, Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Renee. I mean, you said it. And, I know it's for residents and community members. It's folks' choice if they want to go get vaccinated or not. I know I made my choice, and I'm gonna live in a safer and healthier life being vaccinated. And I would even encourage just to open it up to everybody, teachers in the school district, just as important. Anybody that wants to, I know our city employees, optional thing. I want everybody, if they so desire to go, and we'd love to see if any teacher needed access, or even young person with the permission of their parent. I'm sure everybody come on down. I feel like we should get a little ice cream truck out there after, wait that 15 minutes after your vaccination. Maybe get a little ice cream truck out there. But I don't know any right now. Okay, great. Thank you, Renee. I make a positive thing out of it. I don't see any comments about it from our panelists, my colleagues. I'll go to public comment. Public comment. If there's any public comment, now is the time. I do not see any. Fantastic. Moving on to future agenda items. Let me check in with our partners over at the school district if there's any future agenda items. If not forward right now, then follow up after the meeting towards the next meeting. So, okay, great. Chris, did you? I saw your microphone is unmuted.
We'll follow up. There's a lot of things moving right now. I know that we're thinking about summer is right around the corner, fall is around the corner. I'm excited about the vac site in the city in terms of how that's going to continue to lower the case rate. In our residents, we've all been very thoughtful about that. And we continue to partner with these types of conversations, we can keep as many people and some of our elders as safe as possible. So I'm excited about that.
Absolutely, shared excitement. Okay, anybody else? Any future agenda items? You can always follow up. I know things develop always, so great. Thank you so much. That's it for future agenda items. Before we adjourn, I just want to say thank you to everybody. With all these things happening in our community, on the city and school district side, and things that we're working on together, I just want to say how thankful I am truly for what we have. And the glass is half full or full, never half empty. And I'm just very grateful to have the blessing to talk about all these great things that we're doing and things that are in construction and just happening. And so let's go into the weekend thankful together for what we have. And it's 5:20. This meeting's adjourned.
Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.